Hi, and thank you for joining me for today's process video. And today I'm documenting a photo of my family and my mum and dad when we went to Jersey recently. I wanted to pull out some of my older 49er Market stash and also have a play with some of the new dies that we've got at Hey Little Magpie. So first of all, I'm creating a vertical strip in the first third of the card using this beautiful Tim Holtz stencil. It just adds some little dots to the background. And I'm aiming, not very successfully, to create almost like a triangle. You'll see that I do improve that as I go on. So I've stenciled through, and then I'm just using the same ink. It's the Blueprint Sketch to create a bit of a shadow around those dots as well. So you can see here I'm just pulling the design out slightly to the left to create more of a diamond there. And actually it's covering more or less the first half of the card now, isn't it? But I wanted to make it plenty big enough so it still peeks through, and you'll see in the final photos at the end a lot of this gets covered up, even though I thought I'd really pulled it out much further than I normally would do. I'm really not brilliant at deciding how far the mixed media needs to come out, which is why you'll often see me building up the page and then adding the mixed media afterwards. But I decided to go with the mixed media first this time, so I've added that stenciling and the dry brushing, and now I'm just using one of the script stamps from Hey Little Magpie to add some more interest to the background using the speckled egg ink from Tim Holtz Distress Oxides. So my photo's been printed in 4x6, and I'm just going to map that onto some scrap white cardstock, as I usually do, just to create a border so that it pops a little bit more on the background. And I'm going to focus on mainly the blues from all of my 49er Market collections here. So I've got Spectrum Sherbet, Spectrum Gardenia, and I also pull in a little bit of the oh gosh, what's it called? The blue one. I forget now, it'll come to me. So I'm just matting this onto some of the 6x8 paper from the, I think this is from Spectrum, might be Spectrum Gardenia actually. I'm not sure, as I say, I've just mixed them all together now. Serenity is the other collection, I knew it would come to me. So they're the three collections that I've mixed together and I'm using as one now. So just matting that photo that was on white scrap cardstock onto a blue background. And now I'm just cutting a strip of this paper, and I'm going to die cut using the new large scallop from both sides. So one side is the ticket side and the other side is those lovely florals. And now I'm just going to ink the edges. I felt it didn't stand out very much, so I've just grabbed my dauber with the I think I must have used Chip Sapphire last time on this, but there was enough ink left on the dauber to just ink around the edges of those scallops, and it just gives a little bit more definition, makes them stand out a little bit more against one another. So I spotted this it's from the collection pack, and they print like a freebie on the back of the collection pack cover. And I saw these paint swatches in blue, so I thought they would work nicely underneath my photo. And then this lace piece from the Laser Cuts, again to layer up with those vertical strips with those scallops. I also want to use a frame behind the photo. I've got lots of these chipboard frames in white. I'm not quite sure, they must have been in a pack together somewhere at some point. So I'm using one of those behind the photo. Just offset again, and now I'm going to go through the Gardenia ephemera pack to see what I've got. Now this little piece that I've tucked at the top there is actually from one of the die cuts that I'd done previously using one of the Hey Little Magpie dies, the mini notebook die, and it was just the bottom half of that, so I decided to put that at the top there along with some tickets and a stamp, all bits from the ephemera packs. And then I found this little laser cut notebook piece, which I thought will work somewhere. I'm not quite sure where, but somewhere. Now here's where I'm digging into Serenity. That's a chipboard tag from the Serenity collection. And you can see I'm creating like a sideways T on this design. So pulling the embellishments out to the right hand side a little bit more to create that shelf for the photo to sit on. So again, just cutting from one of the 12x12 papers, this little ticket piece, just to pull that line out to the right a little bit more, and then layering that tag on top. Now at some point soon I am going to have to start gluing down because everything's getting a little bit precarious, but I've got a good feel of how I want this design to be. So I just spotted this scrap of card that I've obviously die cut something out of in the past. It's from a 6x8 paper pad, and I thought this edge would look really nice down the left hand side there. So I'm going to add that, and now I'm just going to die cut some of the leaves. These are the new dies from Hey Little Magpie. So I'm just cutting them from white cardstock, and I'm going to keep the top two there in white, and then I'm going to cut two more for the right hand side, and I am going to come in with my watercolours to paint those. So there are two on the right hand side. These are two separate sets. The two at the top come in one set, and then that one on the right hand side comes with three separate leaves in different sizes. They're all embossed as well. They're really pretty. So I grabbed my 49 Market washi tape. These are the stitched washi tapes that they brought out a while ago, and I'm just adding some interest to this frame. So just using that washi tape to create like a stitched edge around the frame. So I'm only going around three sides because I know that fourth side is covered by the photo. And I probably could have missed out going around the bottom as well, looking at the finished layout, but there you go. So this is where I decide that I definitely need to start committing and sticking things down. So start with this scallop, and almost straight away need to pull it up. I need to put this lace underneath, so I have to use some glue for this because it's too thin to use my ATG on. So just getting that stuck down, and this is where you'll see I pull that up. Luckily I hadn't pushed it down too hard onto the cardstock, so it was fine. Put that down, try to add the other scallop, and again realise that I should have put that first because I want to tuck it underneath that other scallop. Isn't it always the way? So just having to pull up those other scallops slightly to get that tucked under. There we go. And then I remember that I had this piece, which I also hadn't added, so I just need to pull that up once again to get that stuck down. So now I can add the frame and the photo. And the frame is made of chipboard, so it's quite dimensional. So I start by just sticking the photo on it, but quickly realise that it's not going to stay very well if I don't add some foam behind. So you'll see how I do that. So first of all, adding that frame, using the photo as a guide to make sure that I'm happy with the positioning, and then bringing in my T-square ruler just to make sure that everything is straight on there. So you can see here I'm just adding some glue along the chipboard edge, but it's definitely not enough to hold that photo. So I'll just carry on building for a little bit, and then I'll bring in some foam shortly. So this piece I'm just going to glue down with glue, but when I bring the label in, you'll see that I've stuck it out a little bit too far to the right. So I just peel it up and tuck it back under a bit more. There we go. So it's at this point I realise that I really do need to add some foam behind everything. So I'm going to sort that out now. So using my Stix 25mm foam pads, I'm just going to add one to the base cardstock behind the photo, and then I can lift that photo up and add some more to that base and stick the photo to the foam because I can see where the photo is going to sit. So just adding a bit to that chipboard as well, only on the left hand side because it's chipboard, it's really rigid, so I don't need to worry too much about it flopping down in the page protector. So this is where I just add the photo to these foams. There we go. So now it's just a case of tucking all these bits in at the top. These lovely tags that I'd found, labels rather, and the stamp. I just can't find my words at the moment. And again, adding foam behind those just to give them prominence, make them stand up a little bit, and it casts a lovely shadow around the page. And because those leaves are going to be layered over, it looks really nice. I do like adding dimension to my pages. Makes my albums quite bulky, but I don't mind that. So there are those bits tucked in at the top there, and then I can add those leaves. So the first one, and then that's the second. And these are the long stem leaves dies at Hey Little Magpie. They really are beautiful. I love them out of white actually, but I'm looking forward to trying different coloured card and paper, and also painting them. You'll see I do paint the ones on the right hand side shortly. So I tuck it in and realise that it's white on white and they're just not showing, and I want them to have a little bit more colour on the page. So just tucking this little notebook piece in before I lose it. and then I'll focus on those leaves. So glue those two at the top down first, because I know I'm happy with those the way they are. And then turning my attention to these two. So I'm going to pull out some of the Vicky Boutin watercolours. First of all, the blue, and I start by just splattering it, but then I decide I want to add a little bit more colour, but it's quite an intense blue. So I daub that up and then carry on with splattering, then decide to add some splatters on the actual layout as well. And if you're keen-eyed, you'll notice that I'd forgotten to add those paint swatches underneath the photo, so I will come in and do that once everything's dry. Managed to get some paint on the photo, so just dabbing that up. And then I turn my attention a little bit more to that leaf. So first of all, adding a bit more blue, and then I'm going to come in with the gold watercolour as well. Adding some gold splatters to the layout just for continuity, because I've got that on the leaf. And then I'm going to pull out that other leaf as well and just use a very watered down gold and blue on that. And you'll see when they're done, it's a different look to each leaf, but they're both absolutely beautiful. That blue does dry a lot lighter than it looks when it first goes down, because as the mica comes through, it sort of lightens the colour there. So you can see here, I'm just using the brush that was sitting in water, so there's just a little bit of the blue left on there, and then very lightly dotting on a little bit of the gold as well. And then I shall leave those to dry and then start again. So you can see there, they're nicely dry and the colours have changed. So I'm just going to add that paint swatch piece in, as I say, that I realised I'd missed while I was waiting for everything to dry. And I've also pulled out the new stamp and die set from Hey Little Magpie. This one says happiest. We've got three. One says snapshots, one says moments, and one says happiest. And you can stamp and then die cut the words to use as titles on your page. I've chosen these words specifically because they can be used on their own or in conjunction with other words to create a title. So today I'm going to create happiest together. But you could use the word happiest with all sorts, couldn't you? And I use small alphabet thickers, but there's so many different options that you can use to create these. So I decided to let the stamp flop onto my mat and then pick it up with the block from there, just so that it's not stretched out at all. And then I'm using my black soot ink to stamp that down. I probably should have stamped it onto scrap first of all to get a crisper image, but it's fine. And in the end, after I'd finished filming, I did just lightly go over it with my black gel pen just to get a slightly darker image. But I know that next time I'll try it a couple of times first and it'll be nice and black. So just gluing that T down, and then here's where I pull out my alphabet stickers to create that second word together. So I've pulled out some Pink Fresh Studio ones, and I'm just using the blues. I managed to use TOGE as a paler blue and then THER as a darker blue, because I didn't have all the same colour. But you can see it sort of fades into the background there. So I tried it in one position, didn't like it. Tried in another, it was even worse. So I've decided to bring in some scrap white cardstock and create a banner for that to sit on. And then I can add it to foam pads to make it stand up a little bit underneath that word happiest. So that's how it's going to look. So I'm just going to trim that out using my big scissors and then create fishtails at the end, either end of that. I'm really happy with how that stands out and how it looks. So yeah, very, very happy with these new dies that we've got in the shop, and those stamp and die sets are wonderful. I've got all three and I'll definitely be using them a lot in my videos. So just adding some foam pads. These are the 6x12 foam pads from Sticks 2 Again that we sell in the shop as a big roll, and they're brilliant for these smaller detail work. The 25mm ones are great for adding behind photos and larger bits, but I love this size for the smaller bits and pieces that I add to my page. So just peeling that up to get that leaf it's bent up slightly so it shows a little bit more. And then I remember to come into my rub-ons. So I'm just going to choose a few. I don't add too many to this page, but just a few to add a little bit more interest to the background. So first of all, this beige leaf that I add to this cluster here at the top. So just get that rubbed on. And it adds a bit of interest to that blue notebook piece that I had up there. And then from the same sheet, there's 2 butterflies. So I add one to the bottom here. Just get that added on. just there. And then add another one diagonally opposite, so next to the frame and the chipboard tag. Just struggling to get that backing paper off, and then adding that there. So just a little beige splatter that I'm going to add to the bottom here. And then a little label shape that I'd found from the Serenity collection. So I just cut it in half, and it's beige, but the reverse side that this is printed on is navy blue, so that works really nicely at the bottom of the page there. So adding the navy blue bit there and the beige bit at the top. And then this heart I've got left over from a layout I was doing the other day from a Simple Stories Christmas pack, so I just thought that would look nice under there. And then some black wax twine to be added to the tag. And then I think it's just the date that I need to add once this is done. So almost there now. So I decided to tie this in a bow. I couldn't really see anywhere obvious for it to trail off, so I thought a bow would work nicely. Just add a couple of dots of glue to hold that in place. Just one on the frame and one under the leaf there. And then here's the roller date stamp, and I'm going to add that underneath that heart just to finish it off. And that's layout done. I hope I've provided some inspiration for you. Thank you so much for joining me. Do ask if you have any questions, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.